Hey everyone, appreciate you tuning into this episode of the Wolves Den. Today we got a special guest with us, Colin Gartz. So just to give a little bit of background, today Colin and I are just going to be chatting over some things regarding business. Colin, he's a young entrepreneur. He's down in the Jersey Shore. He recently started a business a couple years ago, so obviously I don't want to talk too much for him, but excited to have him on and love to share his insight on some things today. And I think it's going to be something special. So, Colin, appreciate you having some time to hop on here and introduce yourself to everyone.
Yeah, thank you. It's going to be interesting to see what we kind of talk about here because, like we were saying before, we've talked about so much stuff over the past 2 years of knowing each other and whatnot. But there's, we go into such depths and stuff like that because I feel like we're very similar people, and I'm really happy to be here. This is definitely the first time I've done something like this, so I'm excited. And I've always listened to stuff like this, but I've never actually been on a podcast myself. So it's interesting to be on, the inside perspective of this kind of gig.
Yeah, of course. No, I appreciate you taking the time. And it'll definitely be something special. Colin and I, we're actually second cousins. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes.
We're second cousins. My father is cousins with his father, correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So sort of related down the bloodline somewhere.
Long family tree on both sides.
Exactly. So we recently connected about almost a year ago, about
February 2021, I believe.
Oh, yeah, correct. A little bit over a year, February 2021, correct. To be honest, no offense, Colin, but I didn't know that you were related or had a business or any of that stuff, but it's really sparked a great relationship, and I appreciate you reaching out. So tell everyone a little bit more about who you are, what you do, how long you've been in business, all that good stuff.
Yeah, all right. So my name is Colin, like Marcus has mentioned, Colin Gartz. I'm from Wall, New Jersey, Jersey Shore area. I do business kind of all over the place down here within Monmouth County. I'm currently going to be a sophomore at Rutgers in the upcoming fall. So I juggle between school and work and stuff like that. Started my business when I was in high school, a junior year of high school. Ironically, that's when COVID happened, and it kind of really changed my perspective on, the person I wanted to be and what I wanted to do with my life and stuff like that. It was definitely the biggest wake up call I've ever had in my life up to this point. And ever since then, I've kind of had different mindset going forward in my life, which kind of sparked me to prompt and reach out to Marcus. I had no idea, kind of like how Marcus gave a little info on it. We had no idea who we were until I kind of DM'd him on Instagram one day because my dad had sent me your website, I think it was, and he was like, "Oh, this is like your second cousin. You should definitely reach out to him." And immediately, I was so impressed because at that time, I don't get me wrong, I'm still impressed with everything Marcus has done and how fast he's been able to do it and how efficient. Not that it's been without any scars or anything like that, but it's just crazy how he carries himself. But at that point in time, I was very young, and even I'm still inexperienced now, but compared to where I was a year ago today, I'm worlds away now from where I was a year ago. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, this would be a tremendous opportunity for me to, not only meet somebody from my family, but also, talk to somebody who I kind of had been considering looking for I wouldn't say a mentor. I wouldn't call that our relationship or mentorship kind of role, but definitely it borders something very close to that. And I was, cognizant of that at the time and aware of that. And I saw that and I was like, wow, this would be a great opportunity to kind of form a relationship with somebody and definitely, see what they can teach me and what I can learn from them and kind of use for myself. So that's kind of how we met. But yeah, I started my business, like I said, junior year of high school.
Why did you start your business? What made you always want to get into landscaping?
Well, I've always, ever since I was a little kid, I'm sure you must have been the same way at some point when you were a younger kid. I was always, the biggest fan of, this is going to sound funny, I was always the biggest fan of Bob the Builder and stuff like that. I can remember my grandpa buying me an impact gun when I was like, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7, and I would just go around the garage and drill holes in the walls and stuff like that. So I've always been somebody, even when I was a younger kid, who's had a tremendous interest in construction and stuff like that, working with your hands, elbow grease, the whole 9 yards. But when I got a little older, I really found my niche, I would say, with lawn care. It seems like everybody in this industry starts with cutting lawns. That's really how you dip your toes in the water with that stuff. So when I was 10 and 11, I used to just cut my lawn. And then in middle school, I used to cut a couple of my neighbors' lawns and stuff like that. Nothing crazy. I had no idea what I was doing, but I can't actually, looking back, I can't actually thank those people enough for letting me kind of draw the most crooked lines on their lawn for $40.
Yeah.
But that's kind of really how it sparked. And then I moved, unfortunately, so I kind of lost all that momentum. And then my sophomore year, the year prior to me starting my own kind of thing, my neighbor in my new home and stuff like that did lawn care. So I spent an entire summer with him, which was great for me because I didn't even get to cut. I weed whacked for probably 4 or 5 days a week only. And it was probably one of the best things I could have done for myself, even though I kind of hated it at the time. But looking back, I mean, I learned so much on, not only how to be pretty damn good with the weed whacker, but also, how to run the business, how to get up in the morning every day, how to make sure you have a route planned out, and, not to be a negative person or anything like that. But he was just somebody who would just wake up in the morning and however many lawns he wanted to cut. So in a way, he definitely, not directly, but indirectly, that entire experience allowed me to see what not to do. And, there was a better way of doing this. Not to say he wasn't efficient, not to say he didn't do a good job or anything like that. But there's a lot of people, I think, in this industry, especially, that they're very good at what they do. And they're very good at, cutting the lawns or putting down mulch or putting down a patio. But the business side of things is where a lot of people struggle. And that he was definitely one of those people. So it kind of gave me a little bit of a perspective on, okay, you can be the best, you can make the nicest lawns, you can make a golf course in somebody's front lawn. But if you don't understand the back end of it, you're never going to be able to get out of just the person who drives around in their truck all day.
Where do you think you stand in that? I mean, do you think as though you are more or less a great installer or a great mower or whatever you want to call it? Or do you think you're a better business person?
Well, I would say, I wouldn't say I'm too shabby with the mowing and stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's definitely people who are better than me. There's definitely people I'm better than. But I would say mulch is my bread and butter without a doubt, personally speaking. And this is the first year, I'm sure we'll get into this a little later in the podcast. But this is like the first year I've had more than 4 lawns. So I've definitely stepped up my lawn care game. But mulching is my bread and butter. That's really kind of how I started doing my own thing, is, doing some mulching jobs and stuff like that. But I would say that's probably my bread and butter when you look at me personally.
Okay. And do you see yourself struggling in the business aspect of finances?
Yeah, I guess to continue your question, I didn't really give a full answer to it. I would say, without a doubt, my dad has helped me tremendously with understanding the business side of things and stuff like that. I mean, the first job I ever did, he kind of walked me through it and stuff like that, and helped me, understand how much it was going to get, how much it was going to cost to get the mulch there, how many people I was going to need and stuff like that. Not that he held my hand, but he gave me the other end of the business, which you really don't get when you kind of work for somebody, even though you can kind of see it when you're doing, if the boss is talking to somebody or something like that. You don't really understand it fully until you're there in that situation individually. But I would say, to answer your question from before, the biggest thing for myself when I'm, approaching somebody, when somebody reaches out to me, or when I knock on their door, whatever it may be, I'm very good with people skills. I would say, I can look you in the eye when I talk to you. It sounds funny, but it's the little things that really make a difference. A firm handshake, you look somebody in the eye, you get back to them in a timely manner. I mean, not to say that you shouldn't charge them a lot, but your prices are fair. You can justify your prices. Your work speaks for itself. The stuff like that, having personal skills, being able to, do more than just have a service for somebody and form a relationship with the customer, even if it's a one-off job, because you have no idea if that person's going to call you back in 10 months, 10 weeks, whatever it may be, 10 days. I think being able to understand, we're all people, and when you knock on somebody's door, you're presenting your business, but you're also, representing yourself. And I think that's allowed me to understand and leverage myself when I have interactions with people and understanding the business side of things.
Yeah. And it's not so much a large portion of it is exactly who you are interacting with in that exact very moment, but you don't know what they're going to say about you or about their experience that they had with you to their friends, their family members, their neighbors, the parents in the school or whatnot. So it really just goes much further than that initial interaction. And you being, how old are you exactly?
If you don't I'm 19. I'll be 20 in November.
Okay. So being classified as a teenager or late teens, you are very mature, and just by how you present yourself and how you share your experiences with myself and where you are currently, having a mature mindset and being business savvy in that sense and always willing to learn has gotten you, from my experience, has gotten you to where you are today through your success. So definitely kudos to you on that. But I know that you're saying your father helped you out a little bit in terms of the business aspect. What's his background, and does he still help you? And want to go into a bit more detail on that?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's so funny you asked that, because just yesterday, him and I were cutting lawns.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he definitely still helps me. More or less, like when it's like a last second thing, if somebody calls me in the morning, they're like, "Oh, I can't come," or "I just can't find help for the day," whatever it may be. I'm extremely blessed and lucky to have somebody, my brother as well, on a rare occasion here and there, to have a family that's able to take the time out of their day and help me with my situation when they have everything else going on with their life. Yeah. But some more, get back to your question a little bit. Yeah. I mean, he's helped me really kind of stay focused, I would say. And I mean, I'm sure your dad's the same. And I would say for our family too, we're definitely not bullshitting people. We, if we know something and we think it should be a certain way, you're going to hear it from one person or another. And I mean, you and I have talked about this a lot of times. Last summer when I graduated, I kind of went on a little bit of a workless summer. Not workless, but I wasn't where I wanted to be in work. Not to make an excuse or anything. I was just, in a nice way of putting it, I definitely celebrated with a lot of my friends gradigrading high school for that summer.
As you should. That's a great, very important time of your life, and you're only going to be graduating once.
I do not. I mean, I don't regret it. But in my mind, before I got to that summer and had all those experiences, I wanted to be where I am now last summer. But regardless, it doesn't matter. I'm still here now, which is the most important thing. And I mean, when I would tell him like, oh, like, I'm not really sure if I want to still stay in school or whatever it may be about, questioning what I want to do for the rest of my life. He would say, well, look, I mean, in a nicer way of putting it, because sometimes it would be an argument. He would say, you say all these things, but your actions are completely different. I mean, and he was right. I mean, I was not doing the same things I do today, where I'm, constantly working. I mean, I work 5-6 days a week. I was not doing that last summer. And I would go out and tell him like, hey, like, landscaping is something I want to, test the waters out and see what I can make out of it. And, I could absolutely tell it to him in a conversational way. But then when you go look at my track record last summer of how I acted and how little I actually did work, it wasn't anything to back it up. And transfer a year later, and here we are today. And my actions
always, like you're saying, actions speak louder than words at the end of the day. So I get where your parents are coming from, and obviously the decision between continuing to go into school or continue to pursue a path in business. What's your parents' take on that, and has your guys' relationship between your parents and yourself been compromised in that aspect? Because I know a lot of people, especially starting a business, they're trying to decide, or coming out of high school or whatnot, they're trying to decide, do I go to business, or do I go to school? Do I start a business, or do I do both, or whatnot? So tell me about a little bit of your experience with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When I was coming out of high school, or when I was still in my senior year, which is really weird because it was the first time. You have to remember, this was I was going to into my senior year when COVID. It was September of 2020, so COVID was still, unfortunately, not letting kids back in school and stuff like that. Um, and I was for the first time in my life, I actually wanted to go back to school, which is crazy because I've never felt like that before.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as we started to go through the school year and I started applying to schools and stuff like that, I kind of realized, you have to keep in mind, this is still my first year in business here. I wasn't really sure whether I really wanted to go to school or not. And it was kind of the first time I've ever considered, or had even a thought of something of the sorts like that. Um, I never, before that point in my life, I never really put a lot of thought into whether I was going to go to college or not. I kind of always just thought I was going to go, I guess, basically like everybody else does, and just figure it out after that.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of started thinking like that, and I wasn't really sure about school and whatnot. And, I had some arguments with my parents and discussions and stuff like that. Long story short, I mean, we had some disagreements and stuff like that. I ended up settling, I would say, on going to Rutgers because, we're in New Jersey. So it gave me the best chance to still go to a regular college. I didn't want to go to a smaller school. It gave me the best chance to go to like a legitimate college, as I would put it, and still run my business, which is what I did this spring.
How far is Rutgers from your house?
It's only 45,
Okay.
right down Route 18. It's not very far.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
so that
so
definitely gave you some flexibility for sure.
yeah, yes, absolutely. And at the end, and the back of my mind, that was kind of my saving grace as I went through the school year, and I would kind of get frustrated with where I was and how I felt and stuff like that. As we've talked about it a couple times before. So that was probably one of the things that helped me kind of get through the school year and stuff like that. I mean, because as we've talked about it many, many times, how I feel and what I'm doing and stuff like that, and how I can change it, and the whole nine yards. But to get kind of back more to your question, I mean, my parents are, our relationship has definitely not been compromised. Obviously, just like anybody's parents would want, I'd hope, they want the best for, their son or daughter, whatever it may be. And, sometimes it's just hard for them to, when you look at yourself and you're going to have a kid and stuff like that, do you want them to go to college? Probably. Yeah. You have no idea what's going to happen. So, this year, I think I've been able to show them, that, there's something I can definitely make out of this. And I'm not here to just kind of tell them I want to do it without actually going out every day and proving to myself and them as well. So our relationship has definitely not been compromised. They're very supportive. I mean, but at the same time, which I think is, something that's kind of getting lost in people my age, is they're definitely not afraid to tell me how it is. When I'm lazy, or, when I'm kind of BSing them on something like that, they're not going to be like, oh, just yes me to death or something like that. They're going to tell me like, oh, they're going to call me out for, if I'm being lazy, or if I was not lying, but bullshitting on them on something like that. They're not going to hide how, the truth and what they think is the right thing. So having that relationship has definitely allowed me to, like you mentioned before, become a little bit more mature and aware about my situation.
Yeah. What would you say that you would contribute a lot of your success towards?
That's a pretty good question. I would say my success definitely, it's self-driven. And when I say that, I don't want to come off as sounding selfish or anything like that. I have I have a list, in my head of personal ambitions and stuff like that I want to achieve for myself.
Would you mind sharing a couple of those?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's going to sound, a little phony, and I'm sure everybody has a little goal like this, but I mean, I want to be able to one day retire my parents at some point, one way or another. I mean, ideally with a beach house, I would hope one day, but we'll see. We'll see if that happens. But it's still something that's in the back of my head. And it's never also, this is another one, it's never too early to start preparing for when you have a family yourself. So, I wouldn't say that these aren't things that other people my age aren't thinking about, but it's just something that's not on everybody's radar, as much as it is on mine, with, starting early and kind of preparing yourself for the future in the long run, saving your money. I obviously have a certain amount of money I want to have but in my pocket by the end of the summer. I have a certain amount of sales I want to have done by the end of the season. I also have,
or just to ask questions on that point that you just brought up. What is your plan in terms of what you want to make as a company for the year, and then how are you going to accomplish that?
Sure. So, I mean, I honestly, I'm not even gonna lie. I would not call it a company yet. It's really self-employment at this point because I'm out there.
That's how
myself.
it starts, though.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the only way you get the ball rolling. But yeah, for myself, being out there every day, um, I I guess I would say that the plan is the plan was just for me to give it my best shot and see what happens after that. But there was ways for me to ensure that I was, optimizing all the opportunities I could get around. So some of the changes I made going into this year were definitely, I had a little bit of a marketing strategy kind of, which I'm sure we could touch on later. I started utilizing social media, specifically Facebook, a lot more, which has probably been the best thing I've ever done for my business. I started getting on Google. I have not to this day still not spent any money on Facebook, but this is all preseason stuff. Made a couple posts in my local township Facebook group, which definitely revolutionized my customer base and my outreach. Yep. And, who saw what I was doing and stuff like that and shared it to their grandparents or their friend and said, hey, if you need something, whatever it may be. I mean, that completely revolutionized what I was able to do thus far into the season. So this is all preseason stuff. But once I got into the season, I knew I was when I was in going into my spring semester and I made my schedule for school, I was lucky enough to be able to make it where I only had classes Monday to Wednesday. So I was home every weekend through April, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then I drive back to school Monday morning. So all through April, I did that. And I think it was like one weekend at the end of March, kind of when the season starts. So April was very busy. And then May, I got out of school the first week, I believe. I finished finals a little early. And then it kind of transitioned to formulating, I had to kind of figure out my schedule every week. And I was able to narrow it down to, it's 2 days of mowing for myself. Cause you have to remember I'm at every job. I'm doing it with whoever I can find help with. And kind of had to wait for my friends to get home from school to get that help. But it definitely helped me, be a little more, sleep a little easier at the end of the day because I had people helping me.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Without people by your side, whether it be your parents or your father supporting you, or the people out there actually helping contribute to getting a job done at the end of the day, you want to be where you are. I mean, without a doubt, you could be a large contributing factor to your success, but it's also the people around you as well that bring you to where you really want to go and help you grow
absolutely.
And be more efficient.
Yes, I could not agree more. As my mom tells me all the time, you can't do it by yourself. No. And I actually would say that's probably one of the biggest things I have learned from this year is that, there's a lot of moving parts, even though it's just myself and it's not, a huge business, but there's still a lot of things going on at one time. And to be able to juggle that all yourself, it's definitely a challenge. And I've been fortunate enough to been able to maneuver myself through those challenges this far, being it's July 2nd. But I wouldn't say that there aren't times where I've had to ask my dad to help me with something like that, or somebody, stay a couple extra hours, or whatever it may be. There's definitely a certain point where you can't go any farther without getting help and stuff like that. And I'm sure that's something also you've learned, making such a big transition as fast as you did. It's a lot of moving parts at one time, and you need people who you can rely on the most.
Yeah, there with myself, there must be dozens of people. I mean, all the way from the crews out there actually putting the work in, the office staff planning and preparing and organizing the work after jobs are sold, and also dealing with clients. Then there's myself mainly selling the jobs. Then we have a mechanic, and then we have our bookkeeper, our accountant. Then we have our engineer and designer and architect. I mean, there's dozens of people that go into contributing to one business. And without them, we wouldn't really be able to have a, a successful business. So definitely, I would not be able to do it by myself. And as you grow over time, then you're going to need to have more people to get you to where you want to be. Or if you want to stay where you are, you may just need to bring people in slowly instead of not rushing it. I'd say growing as quickly as compared to I did. So to each their own. Obviously, everyone has their own path in life, but at the end of the day, you just have to do what's right for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of make a point at what you said, there's definitely guys in the industry who are happy going out every day on the mower and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
putting in the work, as we say. But there's also people like yourself, and hopefully, if I end up sticking with this, where I would want to see myself, where you kind of just make sure everything facilitates the right way, and you're there to put the right people in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Hold on, Colin. I'll have Spencer edit this out, but I just got a notification that um, the Zoom call is going to end in 10 minutes because I don't have the pro. So,
Yeah, I see that.
oh, okay. So it'll cut off. I'll just resend you a link, but we could just
Okay, no problem.
start another recording. So just to let you know.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I see the little timer to it. It popped up on
Yeah.
the screen.
Okay. So at like 2 minutes, we'll stop.
Okay.
And then I'll send out another link.
All right.
Everything going good so far?
Yeah, no, it's good. I enjoy doing stuff like this.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Of course. You want to ask me a couple questions, or just I'd say one question before we gotta.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I mean, it's kind of hard for you and I'm actually shocked we've talked about this much, because we've outside of this we've talked about a variety of things and whatnot. But I guess one of the things I really wanted to ask you was, what do you do to keep because I think, knowing you personally, you have a pretty good job of it. What do you do to keep a healthy work-life balance? Because what I found, I mean, this year I've missed dinner more times than I can count.
Yeah.
Which also hasn't been the best thing, because sometimes my parents will get a little upset with me. But what is something that, or what are some of the things that have helped you kind of, besides planning and the regular stuff, to kind of make sure you make time for your girlfriend or your mom or your dad, whatever it may be, because as the big man on top, the boss, the work doesn't really end at a certain point in time. So
yeah, to go off of that, I mean, obviously that's something that I've always struggled with, and I feel as though if I'm not working or not doing something to send a quote out, market the business, talk with clients, yada yada yada, I feel as though that the business is staying stagnant, and stagnant in my mind means that we are moving backwards when other companies are moving forward. It's just a mindset that I have, and trying to take a break, trying to have a little bit of a personal, professional life balance. It has been tough for me, 110%. And it's something that I still struggle with. I mean, myself, from Monday through Friday, I'm up at the office at 4:30 in the morning. Then I don't leave until about 5 to 7 o'clock at night. Because I believe that in these early years of the business, it's a lot about what you put into it, you're going to get out of it. So over time, I'm going to be able to, I'm not going to have to be at the office 60, 70 hours a week in about, just say, a couple years down the road, because I helped create a strong foundation. So it is tough for me to stop working even on the weekends. I mean, we're doing this on a weekend because we didn't have time during the week to have something between you and I. But I really think something that has helped contribute to me was my girlfriend. She definitely, we like to do things together, and trying to go places, whether it be out to dinner, whether it be to the beach, like we're going to be doing this weekend, or going to things with family and friends. It's definitely something that helps get my mind off the business, which is healthy. Obviously, you need to have that healthy balance. And another thing that I do is I recently got a motorcycle. I'm a adrenaline junkie. So I love to just go out, just listen to some music, and just take a beautiful ride, especially on beautiful summer days like this. So that's definitely another thing that I recently started to do, but I haven't had it. I recently got the bike. So for the past year and change, I didn't have that outlet, more or less. And another thing, I mean, crazy as it sounds, my girlfriend, she lives in Pennsylvania. So when and the business is in New Jersey, it's about an hour and a half apart approximately. So when I feel as though when I go to visit her, I'm sort of disconnected because I'm not in the place that we're doing work. I mean,
Right.
I just went outside to go grab groceries before this a little bit ago, and I saw one of our trucks driving around working on a Saturday with our crew out there because we had a rain day, so we're trying to make it up. But like, if I'm here, if I'm around it, if I see our billboards and yard signs, it's a constant reminder because I drive these roads every single day. But also to get out of town, into a different state, it is nice to separate myself from the actual service area that we're in. So I really do feel as though a combination of those things, it has helped me create that little bit of a divide between personal and professional. And my girlfriend, I mean, you could chat with her. She hates it when I'm checking my phone, checking emails, but it's just who I am. And because this is my baby, I put everything into it. So
You always get
yeah.
the little ick in the back of your head.
Oh yeah. I'm like, what's this? Got to check the bank account. Got to follow up with this client. Got to talk with this employee. Oh, I forgot to do this. I mean, I have her, if we're driving, I just have her like text me a reminder. But that's just who I am at the end of the day. Obviously, being a business owner, we put ourselves into this position, about the
It's the
things that we have to do.
sacrifice.
Yeah, of
It's the
course.
sacrifice.
Yeah,
I honestly cannot. I mean, those are all, when you take a really broad perspective of life, those are all really, 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 really good problems to have compared to some other people's situations.
of
And
course.
sometimes I've realized it's hard to kind of just take that perspective because you're so stressed out about what's going on in your, block of the world when
Yeah,
there's such, awful things going on with the rest of the place. And it's really easy to kind of get lost and stuff like that. And going off of what you said, it's very, very challenging sometimes, especially now this time of the year,
yeah,
excuse me, when there's, so much going on at one time and you have so much to do and so much to check because it all falls on your shoulders at the end of the day.
correct.
So I wanted to point out one of the things that you kind of said was, sacrificing yourself now so later you can kind of enjoy, not enjoy, but, take a step back from where you used to be. And I think that's kind of the perspective I have on my life personally. That's what I'm trying
Correct.
to, whatever it may be, whether it's this or finish school and go get a job, your time in the office, and hopefully within the next 4 or 5 years, you'll be able to take a step back and see the fruits of your labor kind of
Mhm.
allow you to not work 70-hour weeks anymore. Not that that's a bad thing, but transitioning that to myself, that's how I feel personally with whatever I'm going to end up doing with my life. Which I still have a little bit of a window, I feel like, before it's like really time to get serious. But I've always felt that, at least in the last 2 or 3 years, I've kind of come onto the theory that if you can take 4 or 5 years out of your early 20s, even late 20s, maybe 6, 7 years, maybe all of your 20s, it's different for everybody.
Yeah,
And transition that time and take out, substitute all the partying and the going out with your buddies and stuff like that, and just put in, like you mentioned, 70-hour weeks, whatever it may be for your situation, and really just make a sacrifice that a lot of people aren't really going to start to make until they have a family. Take
that'll
some risk.
be if you do have a family and a wife and kids and whatnot. It's going to be 10 times harder trying to build a business. And I know
Absolutely.
people do it. I know
That's
people
why
do it, and
in your
God bless them.
20s,
Yeah,
yes, in your 20s, it's the only time I feel like, before you really have responsibility outside of yourself, to take those opportunities and chances to at least say, hey, when you're in your deathbed, I mean, it sounds cliche, but I'm sure it's happened to people before us, and you have that one regret or whatever. You won't have that. You'll be
yeah.
able to have the opportunity to say, or the chance to say, I gave it my best shot, and I wasn't, I succeeded. I didn't succeed, but at the end of the day, it was still something that separated me from everybody else because I wasn't afraid to make a sacrifice and give it my all.
Correct.
But I think, being who we are and doing this at the age we're doing it, will definitely pay dividends for us later on in our life when
Oh,
we're able to.
110%. I mean, it's the rule of, I may be forgetting the exact word, but compound interest. Like if you start now, it's just going to compound over time. And the sooner you start, the more it will end up compounding in the future. So if we start have a foundation now, whether it be us or anyone else, and it doesn't have to be landscaping, it could be any type of business or any type of sacrifice that are people willing to make to see the fruits of their labor in the future. It's going to, the sooner you start, the better. And the more risk you take, the harder it's going to be. But fast forward 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, you will see that return tenfold over.
Exactly. And even if you don't succeed too, it's still
Correct.
it still gives you a lot of personal knowledge and experience that you really can't get elsewhere. You can't get that experience working a corporate job. You can't get that experience, even working a smaller job. You can only get that experience when it's just you and you mess up and you're sitting there and there's nothing you can do about it because it was all you. So
Correct.
It's a very hard situation to be in, but just like anything, any other risk, there's the risk and the reward. And as Roman said, fortune favors the braves.
Yeah,
Braves.
exactly. And I think there's another saying, I know we're talking about sayings a lot, but it is true because being in the position that we are running a business as well as other people, you need those things to just stay motivated. But I'd rather live a couple years, very tough years about just trying to struggle and make things work and work 70 hours a week and do everything I need to do to create a foundation than be complacent for the rest of my life and just sort of make by in a 9 to 5, because I'd rather do things hard right now than have things hard come the end of my life when I'm 60 years old and trying to retire. That's not the end goal that myself has as a business
it's a terrible position to put yourself.
Correct.
To put yourself in.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it's even worse when you're 45 and you have 2 kids and a wife to take care of as well.
Seriously. Yeah, it's just a matter about we have nothing to really do right now besides build a future for ourselves. Everyone's in a different position, but I could speak for myself as well as for yourself. We could just put everything into this and we'll see what the future holds. But sort of going off of that motivation and what you have to do to get to that next level, what would you say really motivates you on a day-to-day basis?
I mean, that's actually a very good question. I mean, a lot of people have also asked me that, and I would say there's no kind of direct answer. It's not really a short-term thing for me. It's something long-term. It's basically driven from a lot of the stuff we kind of just talked about. This isn't something, not landscaping. This, what we just mentioned, making a sacrifice, pushing yourself to the limit, trying to figure out yourself and who you are. It's all stuff I've given a tremendous amount of thought. And I've really come to the conclusion that the only way to really figure out, who you are while also preparing yourself for the future, whether you're going to end up failing or succeeding ultimately with whatever you do professionally, is to go and start your own business and go and figure it out. And because you're not going to have the same experience anywhere else, and you're not going to be able to learn more about yourself and other people and how to interact with other people and just skills that carry over into all general areas of life. Making sure you're on a schedule, making sure you're disciplined, because that is without a doubt one of the things you can't do. I mean, have any success in your life without. Pushing yourself. Everybody gets tired. Everybody has days when they're lazy and don't want to do anything. But without, having real motivation driven from how disciplined you are, you're not going to be able to really take any sort of step in the right direction for where you want to end up in your life. So I guess really to answer your question, my motivation is, and what gets me out of bed in the morning is just the need to succeed on a personal level, but also on a family level. The need to provide for, I don't have a girlfriend or anything like that, or obviously I'm going to get married when I'm older and stuff like that and have a hopefully healthy family. But those are all things I see happening to myself, and I just look at that and I say, wow, well, I need to start preparing for that now, because if I want to be able to be there for my children, or if I want to be the best father and husband I can be, it's never too early to start, and it's never too early to start gaining experience and wisdom, and also making sure you're financially independent.
Correct.
Whenever you can. So that those are all just kind of things that kind of tie in together and push me.
Correct. And sort of going off of that, where do you see yourself being next year, 3 years, and 5 years down the road, if you have thought about that?
Yeah, I've definitely thought about on a professional level where I want to be next year, in terms of business and stuff like that. I'm sure, as you know, because I'll be going into my junior year next year. So junior to senior year internships is kind of like the big year for internships. But next summer I don't have to really worry about that. So I'm definitely going to be continuing my business next year. And I've already started making a couple, preparations for that. Like we mentioned before, I'm gonna actually I am going to get another mower within the next week or so.
Awesome.
Probably another trailer. A couple little small things. Just that pushing myself in the last 3 months have allowed me to kind of had the opportunity to capitalize on, which will allow me to even have more growth next year. But looking forward past the next 12 months, give or take. I'm not really sure. That road is still kind of unclear. I definitely know where I want to be financially. I definitely know where I want to be personally, I would say, which is, in a spot where I can kind of control my own destiny. I would say whether it's going to be, I'm going to continue to stick in school or just drop out and, push myself to the limit, like you have with your business. Whatever it may be, that choice is still unclear. I definitely have a way I'm leaning right now, if you couldn't tell.
Where are you leaning right now?
Definitely towards the business side. But I'm not going to completely write off school yet. I'm going to give it another year, and see, kind of reevaluate how I feel after that.
Well, my opinion on that, so not
Yes,
to be one-sided at all.
No. I don't get me wrong. We've had this conversation many
Yeah.
times. I definitely, your opinion is loud and clear in my head. I no doubt about it. So
it's slightly
just
biased, but
no,
it's been
yes,
through
it is.
something I've been through. So, but to each their own. Everyone has to make the right decision for themselves at the end of the day, whether it be you, Colin, or the next person. You do have to do what's right for you.
Yeah, and I just haven't. I guess I asked you this a while ago. I guess like the thing that really made you snap your fingers and go, well, shit, like this is clearly what attracts me the most. Why am I wasting my time with that? And that's sort of happened for me, but I haven't had something completely like revolutionize like what I want to do with my life yet. I mean, it just hasn't happened to me yet. And I'm sure there's people who go through their entire life and that never happens. And I hope that doesn't happen to me. But I think being the person I am and putting myself in the situations I'm in, is going to allow me to kind of hopefully find that experience and then guide me through the next 48 to 36 months of my life.
So where do you see yourself being? I know you said next year, just doing the same thing, but maybe a little bit bigger of a scale. But where do you really see yourself going in the next 3 to 5 years, if you have thought about that far? And if you haven't, that's okay.
No, I have. I mean, on a personal level, hopefully, if I could ever get a reasonable interest rate, I definitely want to have a rental property under my control. Whether it be at school utilizing an FHA loan because I can live there for my last 2 years at college, or just typical rental property around wherever I live, or maybe Pennsylvania, wherever it may be. That's definitely a personal and financial goal of mine, within the next, I would say, 24 months, 36 months, I would say.
Awesome.
And that's probably one of the hardest things I'm gonna probably push myself into doing, especially now more than ever.
Yeah.
With the current market. But aside from that, I have not given it a lot of thought.
That's
I have,
okay.
but I wouldn't say I haven't. I just really haven't been able to kind of come up with a little bit more of a plan, because as you've just heard, my path is still kind of unclear. So it's more or less about right now, figuring out the path and then kind of going from there. But it's not to say that I haven't looked at different paths and what that can lead me down. I've definitely, taken into consideration all of the different paths. It's really two. I don't even know what I'm saying. There's two paths. It's either, drop out, go to school, or drop out, continue the business, or stay in school. And there's multiple opportunities within both of those, steps that I could take.
Of course.
And I've definitely evaluated those. I just haven't really put a tremendous amount of time into I have not put as much time into those, the after effects of taking a step as I have into kind of figuring out which step I want to take, if that makes sense.
Correct. Makes sense. And that stuff will come over time. So obviously no need to rush your decision. I just wasn't sure where you're currently at.
No, and that's actually one of the things you kind of helped me out with is, I mean, I've always been somebody who's not wanted to, I've just always been somebody who's always known what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they're doing it, what
Correct.
they're doing it. It's just who I am. And then I kind of graduated high school and it kind of just, it just hits you. It's like, well, what do I want to do? I don't know. So
Yeah.
that is definitely one of the biggest stresses in my life, I would say, which, I guess is not a bad problem to have. But it's just, a part of who I am,
Correct.
like you are as well.
Mm-hmm.
What do you throw the question back at you? What do you contribute your success to, on a personal level and, on a professional level as well, aside from, your personal ambitions and stuff like that, which you can touch on, but looking if you could kind of explain it how I did, looking down the road, what are some of the things that kind of drive you to, be the best person you can be?
Yeah. So regarding that, I think the thing that really motivates me or the thing that pushes me is the fear of failure or a complete failure, I should say.
Right.
Obviously, you do need to fail to succeed. You need to
fail
there's
to learn. There's definitely a difference.
Yeah. So I think that just being a complete failure, because I did take a leap of faith and just a complete risk in my entire life. I was comfortable a year and a half, 2 years ago. And then I just made this complete utter change in my entire life. Yeah, which made me 100% vulnerable to everything. And I have to bust my ass every single day. Otherwise, I'm going to lose what I built up to this point. So I think that the thing that really does motivate me is not wanting to take steps back through what I've been through and just continue to push and push and push. Because I do see that other side. I started to see it this year, really, with the small success that I have been seeing and the big changes from last year to this year. I mean, it's something that it's not going to happen overnight that I'm going to see these changes and the efforts of the time and the sacrifices that it made is going to happen over time. So I think in the long run, it's going to be worth it, the motivation right now. But what makes me to continue to push forward is wanting to have a personal and professional life balance. That's one thing, and not work 60, 70 hours a week. And then also wanting to be financially stable and financially free, one, as a business, two, personally as well. And then the other thing is being able to provide for others. I mean, having the ability, whether it be employees or clients, having the overall gratification when you walk off a job site and say, you know what, we did that. We created a beautiful place. We made this place look beautiful. We transformed their property. There's so many things that go into a job, whether it be a small mulch job or a six-figure hardscape job. Just the overall gratification and all the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into these jobs, it's very rewarding. So that's another thing that motivates me, as well as the employees, to be able to provide a culture that's different from any other, and you are directly affecting these people's lives, if you like it or not. You put food on the table for their family. You put gas in their car. As a team, it's contributed to that. It's not saying one person directly does it, but you gave them the opportunity. It all started with an idea of a business that you were able to create that stuff and provide that stuff for them. So I think seeing people grow professionally and personally, because we recently came out with career progression charts about where each of our employees can grow, where they're currently at, and what they need to get to that next point to grow professionally and not just stay stagnant and just running a hamster wheel. We want our people to be paid well. We want our people to get bonuses and provide more for their families. And in return, that's going to help grow the business because you're helping them grow personally and professionally. I get so much satisfaction and joy about seeing the smiles on their faces, whether it be in, they show me a picture of their kid at a birthday party, or just themselves at work, about they're proud of themselves and they're happy to come to work every day, as well as like we recently started to come out. It's the little things that really make a big difference. But like employee awards, we had an employee of the month, we had the photo of the month, the most improved for the past quarter. Um, the the I forget the other ones off the top of my head, but it's just the little things that make it a different company culture that really impact them. So that motivates me to create an environment where people are attracted to work here and want to work here, because in return that'll affect the next thing about um, creating that environment, creating that masterpiece, that transformation of the client, because they're going to be proud of their work. And then in return, that will affect the business. The business is going to be more profitable because we're able to charge more because we have better value that we bring to the table.
It all
And
trickles down at the
it
end of
all
the
goes
day.
down, top down, down up. So
That's actually that's probably one of the most like wholesome. I mean, not to get soft on anybody here. We're heavy duty over here, but I mean, one of the most wholesome and I would say professional and just personally like down to earth ways of describing how you can actually care for your employees
yeah.
outside of your traditional pay and stuff like that and benefits and whatever it may
Mhm.
be. um
Yeah, because at the end of the day, going back to what we said earlier, I wouldn't be able to do it without them. If I
right.
was out
And
there trying to run this exact same business with just myself, I'd be dead
no, it would not
because of
work.
all the stress.
No, absolutely. And going back to um you know not micromanaging, but knowing them on a personal level, showing them that you're there for them, showing them that caring for them, allowing them to see how they can grow within your company. This is especially in this industry where a lot of guys hop around from place to place. That is extremely
Yeah.
important for employee retention. And I'm sure it also helps you grow because they're gonna, everybody has friends, everybody has family members who
Hmm.
work. It helps you grow, and I
Right.
would say, I mean, I didn't even know you did that before that, so that's really awesome to hear. And I'll,
Thank you.
if I was gonna actually ever get to the point you're at, that's definitely stuff I would. I don't think you could go around without
Yeah.
implementing that
Yeah.
stuff. Um, have you seen like changes within your employees, like from where you? I mean, I'm sure there's guys that have been there with you since you started. Have you seen like changes with how they carry themselves since you've
100%.
kind of grown the employee satisfaction part of your business?
Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but we definitely seen a big transition in just people's morales. And if something does go wrong, if they don't like it, they know that they can come to us, and it's not going to jeopardize their position by any means, because we want to be better as a team. We want to be better as an organization, as a crew. And the only way that it is going to get better is them to share their feedback, whether it be good or bad. They're like, yes, continue to do this. Yes, we love this new machine. Yes, we appreciate when you do this. Or on the flip side, no to all those questions. Um, Having them voice their opinions is huge, and it allows them to be more than just an employee. It feels as though they can take ownership over things, and that they are valued and they are heard at the end of the day, because we never want to suppress anyone or push anyone to the side, because at the end of the day, that's not how you build a business. That's not how you build people up. I know it's something that could be a cliche, but we happen to be in the people business, or we are in the people business and happen to do landscaping. I
Yes,
shared that on my,
that's a very good way of putting it.
because people are the biggest thing. Without clients, they're not going to be looking for jobs and want to pay you, as well as if you don't have employees to provide those jobs, then you're not going to be able to have those clients and produce work. It has to go both ways. People is the biggest thing, and it all goes down to caring for everyone. Just caring. Obviously, we have gotten better at this. We're not perfect by any means, but we are slowly progressing to be that company that we are striving to be each and every day. And it all starts with caring. It all starts with the people. And
I love how you also talk about your company. It's not like, oh, I implemented this, I did that, I was able to get this person what they needed. I really appreciate the way you use we. It's we as a company, right? And it's very hard to see that in business. I would say nowadays, It's like it's very rare to see that outside of sports. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
see it in sports teams all the time. Oh, we won the Stanley Cup. You know, we won the Super Bowl. Even the fan bases, oh, we beat you,
Yeah.
whatever it is. That's very hard to see in business. And I definitely think that speaks to who you are as not only an individual, but a business owner and more importantly, a leader. So kudos to you for
Thank you.
looking at your workers and your company as a whole as, one entire thing. It's not with a bunch of moving, diverse parts. So
Well,
definitely, definitely not something you see a lot.
yeah. Well, also to go off of that, I know I'm sharing this right now. One, because we actually do it, as well as two, I was never always this way. It took me quite some time through growing as a person, as well as professionally, about what to do, what to say, what not to do, what not to say, and having my business coach and mentor be able to help me be a better person, be a better leader. And this is going to continue to get better and happen over time. I mean, if you asked me the same question a year and a half, 2 years ago, it would be a completely different answer. But just being in the thick of it every single day and really seeing what goes into a successful business from guidance and conversations I've had with Brad, my business coach, I really just needed to drop my ego. Yes, of course, everyone wants to have an ego, but at the end of the day, it has to be more than you, because you want to. Yes, you are the owner, you are the founder of the business, but you can know that inside. You don't have to portray it to everyone, because then no one wants to work for you if it's all about you. You need to make it all about them. So within reason, obviously, if they take too much control, then it could flip a business upside down. But within reason, organized control as well.
Right.
And just so we are all have the same voice at the end of the day. We're all at the same level. You don't work for me, you work for Golden Wolf. You don't work you don't work for Marcus. We work together. We're all in the same thing. We're all in the same business at the end of the day.
Right. And, that starts from the ground up. So definitely,
Yeah.
Kudos to you for implementing those changes and being able to kind of, I wouldn't say reverse your perspective, but change your perspective on, how to manage people and stuff like that. Cause that's aside from what I was mentioning before, and, a lot of guys struggling with the business end of things in this industry, that is also a huge part of understanding, how you can leverage yourself and how you can also learn to take a step back. So you're also not in the field every day. That's definitely one of the biggest pieces. I'm sure, I'm certain if I was, going to actually end up doing this full time, it's very hard learning curve to kind of figure out. And it's definitely never something you master, but I mean, that's also something like we've been talking about. It's just carries over everywhere, managing people is not just business related. It's everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you always have to be learning. You always have to be wanting to be better. If you are complacent, then you are taking a step back. So you always just need to be better. And it's okay not to be the smartest person in the room or act as though you are the smartest person in the room. You need to learn from people. And the only way to do that is, one, by caring about people, and two, by asking questions and dropping your ego, which, again, I'm not perfect on by any means, but it's obviously going to be a work in progress. I mean, you can never be perfect at one thing. So just having the understanding that you are wanting to be better, that's half the battle.
Right. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, and the small scale I am compared to you, I've definitely dealt with stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
So,
Colin, I appreciate you reaching out. Obviously, that the start of this relationship connection, just being here for one another. Obviously, want to help you out as much as I can. So I appreciate you reaching out back a year and a half ago, approximately. So to obviously have that initial conversation and connection and not be on a podcast, I really do appreciate you taking some time today to go over some great things, share your story, and share where you are, because I know a lot of young entrepreneurs, I know myself and yourself included, listen to these types of podcasts to grow themselves and just to hear what others are doing, because that's the only way to learn. So again, I really do appreciate you taking some time today to go over this. Had some great questions. So we'll definitely hopefully at a later date have another one of these podcasts.
Yeah, next year maybe.
Yeah, of course. So again, Colin, thank you very much for your time. Really do appreciate it, and best of luck to you in your business. And again, always here if you need anything.
Thank you for having me, though.
Of course. Thank you, Colin. Take care.